Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. This is season 5, Success Stories, and we are on episode 3. And we are really lucky to have Anna Dubin here with us today. So, Anna is someone I've known for actually quite a long time, has been a realtor for over a decade now, I think.
Yeah, about 10
And
years, Brett.
about 10 years, yep. And a top producer with a team. And she has some really cool insights and things to share, including what she thinks is her superpower and has kept her at the top of her game in real estate. So, Anna, thank you so much for joining us. We are thrilled to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you having me on. I can't believe we haven't done this sooner.
I know. So true. And I love what you have in your background. I'm seeing hustler heart. I love that.
Mind of a hustler, heart of a
Oh,
queen.
mind of a hustler, heart of a queen. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Okay. And you're Bethesda Top Producer 2021. I know you've been a frequent top producer featured in Bethesda Magazine. For those who are not familiar with the greater DC area, that's one of the kind of really cool, glossy, upscale magazines that we get to enjoy here that's semi-local to our area. So congrats on all of your success. Let's start with you kind of sharing with our listeners what drew you to real estate.
What drew me to real estate, I feel like, is what draws the average human, consumer that's out there every day. The idea that HGTV makes very glossy for everyone, the whole Magnolia concept of take a home, make it gorgeous, sell it, make tons of money. It's so easy. Anybody could do it, especially when your husband's a custom home builder. He's been for I think since 2004 when we met. So I thought naturally, and my family's in the concrete business, and they do a lot of production home building, concrete foundations for Toll Brothers and Mid-Atlantic Homes and a lot of area recognizable companies. So naturally, I thought this would be a great, very flexible, job that I could pick up as a new mom that would appeal to my strengths, and we have all this background. Let's buy homes and flip them. So we started an LLC, and naturally everyone advises you should save on the commission, be your own real estate agent. So I don't do anything halfway, right? I got my license and I was looking for someone to hang it with, and I wasn't just going to hang it with some whatever discount brokerage. It was important to me that I was legit. So in my neighborhood in Clarksburg Village at the time, Bob Myers was the name. He was at every function for the swim team. He was creating, food drives for the homeless. He was doing this and that. He always had a fall event, like a dump and junk and shred and help clean up in the spring and this and that. So I sought out Bob and Ann, and they were super kind and took me and my sister Monica. We became licensed at the same time into their team. And I started learning about it, and I was like, wait, whoa, this is way more intense than anybody gives anything credit for. This is not the easy, like breezy situation that's on HGTV. This is tough stuff. Like finding properties that actually have a margin to turn and be profitable on and all these things. It's not simple. And it certainly isn't simple for an agent that just became licensed as like a newborn baby, So, the idea, then you really understand the for sale by owner concept is insane. The fact that, a real estate agent, it's the easiest job, open doors, collect checks, completely nuts. No, we have about 5 or 6 different professions, including psychiatrist, therapist, home renovator, expert in pricing and market conditions, all rolled into a person that is supposed to be sympathetic and hold your hand at the most chaotic time of your life. And I got it like quickly that I couldn't just do that. I wanted to do this like all-encompassing person swallowing profession of helping people buy and sell homes. So that was like a huge awakening for me. As I told you before, I have an IT degree. I do not use it. I did for a few years. I was good at it. I was a trainer. I empathized really well with people, but it's not a people business.
Right.
So jumped into real estate 100% full time. And I grew astoundingly fast with Bob and Ann. They had just lost an agent who got pregnant and was deciding to exit. Monica and I came in, we became their full-time agents immediately, and it was just off to the races. So since then, I've sold, I looked it up the other day and it was shocking. It was over 240 homes in 10 years,
Nice.
which is fantastic. I've always tried to be better each year than the year previous in volume and in number of homes sold, but 2021 is very hard to beat. That was 78 homes.
Right. Wow.
I almost lost my mind.
Yeah.
And that's when I actually switched over to Nathan's team in 2021, midway through the year, just having a realization that, you know, I really needed to have more listing opportunities if I was going to not lose my mind. And it's, I think, true of any agent that once you really start to get a lot on your plate, buyer wise, and you are as intense with them as I am, because I really do immerse myself in all of their searches, it's hard to be everywhere at once. So now my business is about 60-40 listings and buys. And I think it's very important to have some of both if you're going to be the agent that knows on the listing side what is happening on the buy side at any given point. It's really good to have one foot in both camps.
Right. Right. Wow. Such a fascinating story. And I'm sure people are wondering, so I'm going to take you back to kind of that beginning point of when you said you grew astoundingly fast with the Myers team.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the key was there?
They had a really great, like, nurturing environment for a new agent. And any agent on any Facebook group, anyone that calls me, what can I do? I just got licensed. My 3 favorite words are join a team. Join a team. Do not do this alone. It will swallow you. There is a scary statistic that after the first 2 years of licensure, I think it's over 60% of agents don't renew. And that's an old statistic. I'm sure
87%. It's 87%.
87% is current. Yeah. How are you going to stay? How are you going to be one of that 13% if you don't have anyone to show you the ropes? And even then, it's the sort of thing that you learn by jumping into ice water, but you have to have someone there to show you everything. The tests to get your license is a joke. You know, there's no class that can show you this. You have to be with a mentor that's right beside you. And I had a great pair in Bob and Ann. They were truly amazing because Bob and I are like the affectionate scatterbrains. We're very similar, you know, tied to the client, and Ann was the steady. And she always had our best interests at heart, and she's a marketing genius. So she had an amazing handle on internet leads, what areas, what zip codes were most productive, constantly crunching the numbers, always looking for what's the best CRM, what's the best this, how can we improve that, which is great because when you have the creative and soft side and, you know, blue, orange personalities that Bob and I were, you have to have a steady person that rights the ship. And we had an amazing ISA, Eileen, who would culture our leads and pass them on to us when they were ready, which is super important because when you are as all over the place as us agents are in the field, you really can't keep in touch with these people that need regular nurturing as much as they need. Right. And a good 6 to 12 months out is the average readying time of an internet lead. So if I get them at the beginning, I may drop them by accident because they're just not ready for this yet. There's a lot of culturing that needs to happen. So I think that the process that they had, combined with my eagerness to get it going, kind of culminated in a really great symbiotic relationship. And it was an incredibly nurturing environment, and I learned a lot really fast.
And it sounds like you were like that sponge ready to learn all of the things that they were teaching you, and also had good recognition of what you were able to kind of like offload that they were shoring up in terms of, sounds like some systems and processes that allowed you to convert leads that maybe you might have been, busier doing business with the existing leads to convert long term. Mm-hmm. What have you taken with you that you would say is the key to continuing this trajectory that you've been on?
It's honestly just fostering those relationships that I've created with my clients over time. I've already, I've been in the business, it sounds like a lot, 10 years, right? But it's in terms of transactions, I have seen clients that in my first formative years have already bought and sold with me multiple times. Mm-hmm. And a lot of real estate agents have this sort of mentality that after being through such an emotional thing, and I was there for them and I did all of this, of course they're going to come back to me. That is simply not the case, and nothing that anyone should take for granted. So they need constant appreciation, and not even just me, with my newsletters or what have you, or my market updates. I'm talking like, how are you doing? It's now, we've gone through COVID. Your kids are out of preschool. Where did they go to elementary? I remember you were thinking of private school. These sorts of conversations I have with my clients on a daily basis. I might not have worked with them in 2 years, but that's the key of it. If anybody could ever ask me what my measure of success is, that I am an irreplaceable professional for them and somebody that they've allowed into their lives as a friend going forward, not just as someone to call when I need this, that, or the other house related. I have clients texting me on the daily for references on random this, that, or the other. Who do you know that, does this really well? Do you know any private chefs? I'm thinking of surprising my husband. Do you know like a really great contractor at faux finishing, or this, that, the other? You have to be that person for them. So that's the success, like, is being their like go-to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you shared with me before we started the podcast that you felt like your superpower is human connection. And that's really what you're talking about here. Do you have any tips for people who either maybe that like isn't their forte, is like keeping up with people, or are just kind of like many agents pulled in a million different directions, and they know they should say something to somebody, or they're like, I don't even remember how old their kids are. Like the point you just made about the kids are no longer in preschool. How do you keep track of all of that?
Notes, 1,000,001 notes, because I am a scatterbrain and I'm all over the place. There's a million thoughts running through this head at any point in time. And something extremely valuable that I learned from Nathan, because I came to him as the scatterbrain that, I thought I was successful. I thought I had it all figured out. And I was also, just losing my mind with how busy I was. And I really craved focus as much as a creative like loves being creative. Mm-hmm. They do need something to keep them steady. So we in our business use Salesforce. It helps us track absolutely everything. Every note, every thought, everything goes in there. My descriptions on my clients are extensive. It allows me to be the Santa Claus. I can remember everything this way. It's super important to do this, because these are the things that stick out, driving down the road and I see a sign for, such and such restaurant is opening. And I remember a conversation that we had about, with a client about this, that, or the other, and they love barbecue. Hey, have you noticed that such and such is opening?
Mm-hmm.
I just passed whatever, and I thought of you. This is an organic thought. This is not a salesy thing. This is a human connection thing.
Yeah.
That's why it's different. I don't really feel like, and my clients come to me because they are looking for something in terms of purchasing or selling. They don't need to be sold to. They just need to be empathized with and cared for. Like,
right.
Yeah. And the rest will happen. There's anyone that is overtly salesy. It's not a good look. We're salespeople. I hate being sold to. It's terrible.
Exactly. And the point that you make about having that organic thought, part of that comes from the ability to be focused on others, right? Like that's really what has led to your success, is your ability to be outwardly focused, because you could have been driving down the road, saw that barbecue and thought, oh, that sounds good, I'm going to go have some of that.
Yeah.
You automatically think of the person who you had the conversation with about barbecue. That's really something that is, I think, a superpower that clearly you bring to your business.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, when you made that transition, you talked about doing it in 2021, which when you said that, I'm like, how did you make a change in 2021 when, like, I mean, for those who weren't in real estate in 2021 and are new to this, I remember having a conversation. I was at an event actually, and the speaker said, we're expecting this kind of market to last for like another probably 48 months. And I looked at the person sitting next to me and I was like, I won't survive it.
How?
I was like,
how are you going to do this?
Yeah. I mean, it was barely just keeping your, all of your ducks in a row with the things you had going on, much less trying to have any kind of personal anything going on. But we knew we were like riding this wave that probably was going to come up to the shore at some point, and it did. But when you decided to make that transition, you said that you were pretty buyer focused, it sounds like, right, at that time, and you knew you wanted to focus on getting some listings.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, first of all, for people who are in a position where they're with a team perhaps, or they're in a situation, because we know that you love Bob and Ann, right? And that was a very positive experience for you. Tactically, how did you make that happen?
So I had met Nathan and Mike, his managing partner, through our brokerage. We were in the same brokerage. We were in the same office. They control arguably a huge piece of inventory in Montgomery County. They list like crazy. Nate's been doing this since he was a child, all of that, right? But at the heart of it, I am an intensely loyal person. So I knew that with Dart Homes, there was tremendous opportunity for me because, again, Nate's been doing this since he was a kid. He's been doing real estate full-time since he left college, and he's now national motivational speaker, speaks for RE/MAX on the regular, is in several countries in a month, all over the place, right? So his focus is always real estate, but also a global focus with other priorities too. Yeah. So if you have a strong and motivated agent that has listed, and at the time, maybe my listing prowess was like 25-30% of my business, and repeat clients, right? Someone that you could potentially trust with your listings is huge for you as a team leader. So, and there was no recruitment. I basically stomped my way into that team because there couldn't be any recruitment because we're under the same brokerage. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity I sought out for myself because for Bob, and I know that he wouldn't disagree with me, he, at the heart of it, kept his listings. His listing leads were his listing leads. Works a lot with HomeLight and other, like, listing lead resources. Anything that came in for that was going to him. Mm-hmm. So if I'm a newer agent that's been in the business at that point, it was about 5 years. Mm-hmm. The way for me to cultivate more listings is through leads because I already have a rotational client base, but that's not enough, especially if you want to scale up. So I needed to find a home that was nurturing, that would give me the structure, that had the example of top performance. And they at the time in our brokerage, and still would be if we were still there, the top producing team, period. End of story, no argument. And really at the heart of it, I wanted to learn how he did it. How did Nathan Dart do it? How does he still do it and have a family and go enjoy the lake on the weekends and not lose his mind? Because we both have homes at the lake. It's a big part of our lives, and that was happenstance. We have been going to Deep Creek since like 2012. He grew up going there.
Yeah.
So ran into each other organically at the office, and then again at the lake here, there. And I just really wanted to know how he made this all happen. How? Like, because it seems impossible to sell that many homes and have over 30 million in sales volume a year consistently as an individual and still have a life and travel and do all this. And
Right.
so I came onto his team and really learned his system, and he truly has a system. He does intense Canadian coaching with Richard Robbins International. We love them. They're fantastic. It gave me so much structure, and I really needed structure. I was all over the place at that time. And the only way to really take chaos and make it organized is with systems and really just making your to-do list, having your tasks. And there's a lot of administrative help on this team. We have almost as many admin as we do agents. And I think that that's huge. And for a lot of other teams, they might consider that to be kind of crazy. But I assure you it's not, because the last thing I need to be doing is making a photography appointment or putting a lockbox on or doing things that I don't necessarily need to be doing, because my clients need me to be able to pick up this phone when they need them. If something's literally exploding, it needs to be me. So that's not something I would ever delegate, right?
Yes.
So if I'm going to handle that properly, I need to have the backbone that can handle for me to get really big. And they were Nate has no ego. That sounds like crazy, right? Because you look at this guy and you figure he's got to have an ego. He has to have it be about him. He's the first person to want to foster anyone else's growth besides his own. He loves that. That's his thing. He's already grown. He's fine.
Yes.
So it was a very good match in terms of personalities. I had already worked with a lot of the agents on the team through transactions here and there. We already knew each other, same brokerage, same lead sources, same zip codes, same neighborhood knowledge. So it might seem like a crazy move in arguably like the most insane market of our lives, but it was completely necessary for me. It changed my life, and I now regularly set my appointments for 4 days a week, and I have 3 days without appointments.
Beautiful.
And it's something that took me years to do, and I still slide every once in a while. And then I have my husband to remind me and my team to remind me that things are getting insane for you again. Careful. But it's a structure I really needed, and it was a goal of mine to be able to keep this passionate, love for this business and not have it swallow up my life, ruin my marriage. Yeah.
Right. When we hear that happening all the time in this business as well, it sounds like you've done a beautiful job guardrailing that and doing it very intentionally. For people who are starting with listings and need to understand, they're hearing you say systems, and this is something we talk about on the podcast all the time, and I'm a huge systems nerd. In fact, that's what I mostly do public speaking about now, is systems and processes. What would you say would be like a first or like a starter system for an agent who might be transitioning to listings and starting to feel overwhelmed?
So quite honestly, you've got to develop a workflow that fits whatever process you're trying to cultivate, right? A listing process is going to need, just honestly, it can be as organic as you can have it be electronic. And I would highly recommend any agent that's going to be doing a listing, good Lord, you need a CRM. You need something to track your stuff because you need to know electronically that you did it. If something happened to you, somebody should be able to go in there and see everything that was done or needs to be done, right? Done. But creating a workflow that situationally touches every single piece that can be assigned out to other people, or even in the beginning, it might just be yourself, but every little nuance and piece. I'm talking about a task list for a listing workflow should be probably a good 30 to 40 pieces long individually. Like, and I'm constantly adding or changing or tweaking, or you know what, I really need to put them into the system so that I can follow up with them for, you know, market analysis on this month instead of quarterly, because it doesn't always work that great. These kind of things. But as simply as photography appointment here, booties there, dropped off with the lockbox, choreographing your like marketing prints, who's going to take the flyers to the house. Obviously that doesn't happen until photography is done. All of these things have a timed, you know, story to them that you need to adhere to. And it might seem overwhelming in the beginning, and it's overwhelming for some agents that I've spoken to that are like, how do you handle having 6-7 listings coming to the market in 1 week, which has happened for us before? It's systems. Anybody can handle it if you have a system. Like, you know what you need to do, you know what you need to get done, and just be as quick as possible and as unemotional as you can while you're doing it, the mundane stuff. And the client focus needs to be regular follow-up, period. I had an appointment yesterday with a client who they're wading through the endless sea of real estate agents out there. And this poor woman has owned her house originally since she built with her husband like 35 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And she's now overwhelmed, contacted too many agents, interviewed too many people. And she's just like, what makes you different? I'm like, can we just put the, you know, informational stats and stuff aside? Let's just talk as human beings. Like, are you okay right now? Like, this is overwhelming, right? And we just had a good human conversation. I am her listing agent as of this morning.
Oh,
like,
congratulations.
thank you. This is the heart of it, right? Like, this
Yeah.
is not, you know, it's not all about, and some people might not be for other people. The very mathematical, statistical people might think that I'm too artistic or too, like, you know, too in touch with human emotion, but I assure you it carries through in the numbers pretty nicely. We do pretty
Absolutely.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you make such a good point. People, especially agents, sometimes newer agents, get in their own way. And you know, when someone asks you, well, show me your statistics. How can you differentiate yourself? And you have to have like the USP and you have to have all the stats. And agents often are like getting ready to get ready for so long because they're missing that crucial piece that you just hit on, which is that basic ability to connect as a human being. That's the piece that we were talking before too about AI, that AI is never going to be able to replicate for us. It's the piece that cuts through everything else. And it's the piece that creates the need for the client to have someone to quote unquote represent them, because we're not just representing a negotiation or a contract or numbers. We're representing a need in them to make a major transition in their lives that they need another human being who happens to be an expert in the field of real estate to walk them through. So you do that beautifully, beautifully.
Thank you. It's 100% important. And that's why I don't, you know, I look at AI as a tremendous tool that's out there for us to use in terms of analyzing people's behaviors, how we could more effectively market our sellers' listings to the general public, how we can find and seek out those buyers for them, all of that. I mean, it's amazing and limitless what you can do, but it will never, ever replace, like, when a client comes to me, tears in their eyes, and they have to sell their parents' longtime family home. Everyone was raised in this home, everyone loves it, and they're so clouded with emotion that they can't figure out, how am I going to clear this out? What do I need to do to effectively sell this? Please help me. That the AI will never replace a person's knowledge in that regard. Never. It's
Absolutely.
for me at all.
Right, right. I think if you employ it to create efficiencies in your business, just like a system or any other kind of tech can do for you if employed properly, it's great. But right, not we're not replaceable in that very basic human way. All right, I want to ask you one more question. I can't believe we're like almost at that 30-minute mark already. I told you it flies by.
It flies.
Yeah. So, what is it that you would tell an agent who is, feeling like they're in this challenging market right now, and perhaps, and we touched on this a little before the podcast, too, feeling like distracted by the state of what's going on in the world or the economy, or you log into anything, and it's so funny. I was just two different places, the dentist and just like out in the neighborhood, and people are like, oh, interest rates, and like, you hear all of this negative talk in the media, which is how the media captures our attention. But what do you say to people who are just like trying to keep their head above water in a market like this and really want to grow?
Yeah, there's a few things, honestly. I mean, it's really important. And I think that a lot of agents, that COVID time for us was really nuts. The average real estate year pre-COVID was, height of the spring, rah, 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 busy summer, potentially busy fall, a nice break between Thanksgiving and New Year's where nobody really does anything. We had normal lives, and those normal lives were totally disrupted by full tilt, 1000% on for over 2 years, right? So we forget how it was before. It's so important for us to go back to how it was before. When I became an agent, it was 90 days on average for like a property to sit. Selling on a 22-day average was the Myers team average, and that was amazing at the time because we were way ahead of the curve. But anything that sits on the market now for 27 days is, oh my God, that's clearly overpriced. It doesn't have multiple offers. The sky is falling. The world's on fire. Everything's a disaster. Like, we have to get back to before, where making normal client connections on a regular weekly basis and making sure they're well taken care of and normal follow-up is the heart of the business. And not something we had to do when things were just falling out of the sky, falling into our laps. Agents that became agents during that time frame are unfortunately facing an uphill climb because they truly have no idea what it takes to become a real estate agent,
Yeah.
Any agent that's a veteran from times before, or the agents that were like agents before 2008 and saw that whole thing, like, that's truly being a real estate agent for the long term. So it's just being realistic, can't expect everything to just gel. The average client connections that you need to make with someone for them to be your client, take them from 2021 and multiply them by 20, 30 times. Your efforts need to be super multiplied now. Everything that we did before, our efforts they need to be triplicate, period, to keep the same level of business going forward. And the whole the interest rate thing, like, don't even get me started. It actually creates a great opportunity as far as I'm concerned, because finally we have a stall in the market, perceived stall, because we have less than a month of inventory, or less than a month and a half of inventory at any given point. A sexy listing will go in a weekend if it's appropriately priced, with a fight, still has a fight at 8%. So there's no reason to panic or change our outlooks, because there's still people that will always need to buy in our area. We're very fortunate to be in this bubble of an area where people always need to buy, sell, come into this area, right? Yeah. So you just need to focus your efforts, remind everybody that this is actually great. Like, we're not going to be fighting against 15 or 20 people. We might be fighting against 3, 4, 5. We're not going to be going up as high in price, because every move we make in price is a huge ripple in terms of payment. So this is the time to secure your house if you can find it. Like, if you love Barbara Corcoran as much as I do, I think she's the freaking queen. She just came out and said last week what I feel like I've been saying all along. high interest rate time is the best time to buy. Why? Because we're not going 6 figures over list price anymore. We keep that price forever. We can always renegotiate the loan.
Yes. Yes.
Please, like nobody talks about that. And yeah, it's challenging. Yes, it sucks. I get it. I just broke down a payment the other day, 400,000, and putting down 5% conventional is now in Germantown for a townhouse with an average HOA, $3,300 a month. That seems insurmountable. Why would we do that? Because we're investing in ourselves and having an interest rate deduction at the end of the year. Do you want to keep renting forever? No, it's never a good idea.
So well said. Oh my gosh, great perspective, and so much that anybody listening can take and translate to the audience that they serve so that they can see some like the true light that is in this market right now, rather than all of the darkness the headlines try to put out there. Man, Anna, you have been a light to have on the show. Thank you so much for all you shared. It is no surprise why you are as successful as you are. You bring a unique perspective and energy and, a customer service focus that's really refreshing. So I really thank you for doing this. And I know our audience has gotten a lot out of it. And you are licensed in Maryland, DC, and Virginia?
Yep, triple license.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if people want to find you, how can they reach out?
So I'm on Instagram far more than I should be. My handle is Realtor A Dubin. I post on there a bunch, and something I didn't do with my previous team and I quickly got dunked into is video. So I'm definitely all over Instagram as much as I can and need to be. I'm on darthomes.com, anna.darthomes.com, and I can usually be found at my Long and Foster office in Bethesda a couple days out of the week when I'm not running all over the county, literally running all over the county.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much again. And thank you to our audience for tuning in again. We hope to see you next time. This has been So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent.
Thank you, Meredith.
Wondering how people become the go-to market expert in their neighborhoods like I did with my name on the window on my Main Street office here? Well, this book shares all my secrets and that of many other local top producing agents who are the famous agent in their marketplace. You can get your copy of Farming for Real Estate Agent anywhere books are sold.